She whispered to my best friend, "He still doesn't know a thing," during my birthday. I smiled. Now I do. What happened when I hit play destroyed them both instantly. It was supposed to be a perfect night. My birthday, a room full of people I loved, laughter echoing off the walls, the glow of candles flickering against smiling faces. For a moment, it felt like everything was right. My girlfriend was at my side, my best friend was laughing nearby, and I thought I had it all. A partner who loved me, a friend who had my back, and a life worth celebrating. But then, in the middle of the noise, I heard it. She leaned close to him, her lips almost brushing his ear, her voice low but not low enough to escape me. He still doesn't know a thing. 7 words. That's all it took for the world to tilt sideways. My smile froze, my stomach dropped, and the warmth of the room turned cold. My ears buzzed, my pulse hammered, and for a split second I wondered if I had misheard. But then I saw it. The way his lips curled into a sly grin, the way her eyes flicked toward me like I was the punchline to a joke they'd been sharing all along. They thought I didn't know. They thought I was still the fool. My fingers tightened around the glass in my hand, my mind screaming, demanding that I explode, that I shout, that I make a scene. But something deeper inside me rose up instead, calm, cold, steady, the kind of calm that scares people more than rage ever could. I stepped forward, closing the space between us. My voice was low, deliberate, but it cut through the laughter and chatter like a blade. Now I do. The room fell silent. Conversations stopped mid-sentence. Laughter died in throats. Every head turned, eyes shifting between me, her, and him. My girlfriend froze, her eyes wide, color draining from her face. My best friend's smirk faltered, panic flickering in his expression. I just smiled. A real smile, not the fake ones I'd been wearing to hide my doubts for months. And in that moment I knew I wasn't going to beg for explanations. I wasn't going to scream about betrayal. I wasn't going to give them the chance to twist this on me, to make me look paranoid or crazy. I was going to expose them. Because betrayal in private can be denied, twisted, buried under lies. But betrayal dragged into the light, in front of witnesses, in front of people who thought they knew the truth, that's undeniable. That's permanent. As the silence stretched and their nervous laughter cracked under the weight of it, I decided right then, this night wouldn't just be my birthday. It would be the night I took back my dignity, the night I stopped being the fool, the night they realized they had underestimated me all along, and I had just the plan to make it happen. Looking back, I realized that night at my birthday party wasn't the beginning. It was the climax of months, maybe years, of slow betrayal that I'd been too blind, too trusting, or maybe too hopeful to see clearly. The truth is, I'd been living with red flags waving in my face, convincing myself they were just shadows in the wind. It started with little things. Late-night texts that she brushed off with a laugh. "It's just a work thing," she'd say, her phone lighting up long after midnight. I remember lying in bed next to her, watching the glow of the screen reflect on her face, her thumbs moving fast. I'd ask who it was, and she'd roll her eyes, as if the question itself was offensive. "You're overthinking again." And I'd believe her, or at least I'd force myself to. Then came the absences. Dinners postponed because she was too busy. Plans canceled last minute because she was with friends, and I wanted to be supportive. I told myself that relationships were about trust, about giving each other space. So I gave her space, so much space that eventually it felt like she lived in a world where I was only a guest. But what cut deeper than all of that was the way she and my best friend grew closer. At first, it seemed innocent. They joked around, shared stories, even helped each other out with errands. I thought, maybe it's a good thing. Maybe it's proof that she fits into my life, that my best friend accepts her. People dream of their partner and best friend getting along. But then the jokes turned into inside jokes I wasn't part of. The conversations hushed when I walked into the room. The looks, those quick, sharp glances that seemed to pass between them when they thought I wasn't watching. Friends noticed too. A few even warned me. "Are you sure about them?" they'd ask cautiously. "They seem close." But I defended them both. "Come on, they wouldn't do that to me," I said, my voice steady even when my stomach twisted with doubt. They were the two people I trusted most in this world. My girlfriend, the woman I thought I'd build a future with. My best friend, the guy who had stood by me through thick and thin. They were supposed to be my safe place. So I ignored the signs. I convinced myself I was paranoid. That love meant trust, and trust meant pushing aside the ugly thoughts that whispered late at night. I gave them my time, my energy, my loyalty. I poured myself into that relationship and into that friendship, believing that if I just held on tighter, if I just gave more, everything would fall into place. But instead, I was giving to people who were already betraying me behind my back. That's why the whisper at my birthday party cut so deep. It wasn't just the words, it was the confirmation of every doubt I had silenced, every warning I had brushed aside, every sacrifice I had made for people who thought I was a fool. The two people I trusted most weren't just lying to me. They were laughing at me, certain that I'd never see the truth. And that realization broke something inside me. Not my will, not my strength, but the illusion that I was safe in their hands. That night, I finally understood they thought they were smarter than me. They thought they'd get away with it forever. They were wrong. The thing about betrayal is that once your instincts start whispering, they never really stop. I kept telling myself I was imagining things, but the patterns were impossible to ignore. My best friend showing up at places he had no reason to be, like the coffee shop where she studied, or the gym she just recently joined. The way they shared inside jokes I didn't understand, laughing a little too long, a little too comfortably, while I sat there like an outsider in my own circle. And then there were the glances. Quick, stolen looks that lasted a heartbeat too long. The kind of looks you only share with someone who knows your secrets. I wanted to believe it was all in my head. But every time I brushed it aside, my gut clenched harder, warning me that I was being played. I hated myself for doubting them, for even entertaining the thought that my girlfriend and my best friend, the two people I trusted most, could betray me like that. But the more I tried to bury the suspicion, the more it grew. So, before my birthday party, I did something I never thought I'd do. I planted a recording device. Small, discreet, hidden in the living room, where the music and chatter would be loudest. I told myself it was just to quiet the voice in my head, just to prove that I was wrong and that they were innocent. A part of me even prayed I'd find nothing, but deep down, I knew. That night, as people laughed and clinked glasses, as I cut the cake and thanked everyone for coming, I kept one eye on them. And then it happened. Her leaning in close, her lips brushing his ear, her voice dropping low. He still doesn't know a thing. My heart nearly stopped. But I didn't confront them right then. I didn't scream or flip the table. I remembered the recorder. I remembered that I had proof, undeniable and unshakable, and I knew exactly how I'd use it. So when the room quieted down later, when the music softened and people gathered around for speeches and stories. I reached into my pocket. My fingers closed around the small device, and I felt the weight of it like justice waiting to be served. Without a word, I pressed play. At first, there was just the hum of background noise, laughter, clinking glasses. People looked around, confused. Then her voice came through, clear and sharp. "He still doesn't know a thing." Followed by his chuckle, smug and certain. "Yeah, he never will." The room froze. Conversations died mid-sentence. Eyes widened. Gasps broke the silence, sharp and cutting. My girlfriend's face drained of color, her eyes darting wildly as though searching for an escape. My best friend shifted uncomfortably, his smirk collapsing into panic. I didn't say a word. I didn't need to. Their own voices were louder than anything I could ever shout. In that moment, the betrayal wasn't just mine anymore. It was public, undeniable, exposed under the weight of their own arrogance. And as the whispers rippled through the crowd, I finally felt the shift of power. For the first time in months, I wasn't the fool. They were. The fallout was instant. The moment their voices echoed through the room, the air shifted. You could feel it, like the whole place had inhaled at once and forgotten how to breathe. My girlfriend's eyes widened, her face going pale as the weight of her own words hung over her. "He still doesn't know a thing." And my best friend's smug chuckle right after, proof as sharp as glass. She was the first to break the silence. Her voice cracked as she tried to speak, stuttering, scrambling for a lifeline. "It's not what it sounds like. I was just joking. You guys don't understand." But no one was buying it. Her words came out too fast, too desperate, tangled in panic. My best friend tried a different tactic. He laughed. Actually, laughed like the whole thing was some silly misunderstanding. "Come on, man," he said, forcing a grin. "We were just messing around. You know us. We joke like that all the time." But even as he said it, his voice wavered, and his grin couldn't hide the sweat on his forehead. The room wasn't fooled. People who once told me I was overthinking, who defended them when I raised doubts, now stood frozen, staring at them like strangers. Whispers started to ripple through the crowd, low and sharp. "Did you hear that?" Unbelievable. With his best friend? I watched her panic grow. Her eyes darted from face to face, begging someone to believe her. But all she saw was disgust. The same friends she used to brag to, the same people who cheered our relationship, now looked at her with contempt. And him, the man who thought he was clever enough to hide it all, his arrogance collapsed right in front of me. The smirk that once made me doubt myself was gone, replaced by the hollow look of someone realizing the game was over. They tried to spin it. They both did. She claimed it was just flirting, that it didn't mean anything. He tried to joke, to nudge my shoulder like this was all some prank, but every word they spoke only dug them deeper. Every excuse sounded thinner, every explanation more pathetic, and the more they squirmed, the calmer I became. Because I didn't have to raise my voice. I didn't have to argue or demand answers. Their own words had destroyed them, and the silence of the room was louder than any shouting could ever be. I just stood there, watching, feeling the shift of power settle firmly in my hands. For the first time in months, maybe years, I wasn't the one on trial. They were. And no matter how much they begged or laughed or pleaded, the evidence was undeniable. The people who once thought I was paranoid now knew the truth. The people who once defended them now turned their backs. As their humiliation spread like fire through the room, I didn't feel rage, I felt relief. Because the truth had finally done what I couldn't. It exposed them for who they really were. And I didn't need to lift a finger. In the days that followed, the dust settled in a way I never could have imagined. After the recording played at my birthday party, after their excuses collapsed and the whispers turned into judgment, they both vanished. At first, I thought they would fight to stay, to spin the story in their favor, to claw their way back into the good graces of the people who once trusted them. But shame has a way of chasing people faster than anger ever could. Within a week, they were both gone, disappearing from town as if running from the mess they created. Word traveled quickly. Stories spread, not because I pushed them, but because the recording had already done all the talking. Friends who once thought I was paranoid now messaged me with apologies. People who used to laugh with them now wanted nothing to do with them. Their reputations had crumbled overnight, not because I destroyed them with my hands, but because they destroyed themselves with their arrogance. For me, the weight began to lift. Not instantly, not completely. Betrayal leaves a scar that never fully fades. But slowly, steadily, I started to feel free. For months, I had been living under the heaviness of doubt, the gnawing suspicion that something was wrong. I'd carried the burden of trying to trust people who didn't deserve my trust. But now there were no questions left. No shadows, no second guessing, no wondering if I was just imagining things. The truth was out, and it was undeniable. The strangest part was the calm. I expected to feel fury, to want revenge, to burn everything down in the aftermath. But instead, I felt something far more powerful: relief. Relief that I hadn't wasted another year of my life on people who mocked me behind my back. Relief that I had my dignity intact, that I didn't scream or beg, that I let the truth speak louder than I ever could. Relief that, despite everything, I still had people who stood by me, who didn't waver when the lies were exposed. And as for them, they thought they were untouchable. They thought I would never find out, that their secret would stay buried forever. But secrets rot, lies collapse under their own weight. And when they finally did, it wasn't rage that ended them, it was exposure. Simple, undeniable, devastating exposure. I think about them sometimes, not with longing, not even with anger, but with a kind of detached clarity. They lost everything because they gambled with my trust and laughed while doing it. And in the end, the punishment was never mine to give. It was theirs to suffer. The story didn't end with me shouting or fighting or seeking revenge. It ended with me standing calm while the truth played out loud, while the world saw them for who they were. That was all it took. Betrayal can break you. It can shatter the way you see love, trust, even friendship. But sometimes the sweetest revenge isn't revenge at all. It's letting the truth breathe. Letting it spread, letting it do the work for you, and watching them both flee in disgrace, watching them run from the mess they created. That was the ending they never expected, but the one I always deserved.